Hey guys, welcome. It is Adam from LFG Nexus, and tonight LFG Nexus is presenting Storytellers Live, where tonight we've got Debbie Rickerson Pass with us. Super excited to bring her onto the show, have her talk a little bit about some of her experiences with LARPing, telling the stories, some of the stuff that she's encountered, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to bring her on in just a couple of minutes. Just want to do a little housekeeping stuff. First of all, if you're not familiar with LFG Nexus, we're a social media platform for all gamers. So we're here from board gamers, cosplayers, collectible card games, esports, LARPing, video games, miniature war games, just everything. So we're here to bring, to be that home for all different types of gamers. So that's what LFG Nexus is about. Please check us out at lfgnexus.com. So here we go. So lfgnexus.com, you can sign in. We've got other things that people have never seen before. We have things like you can watch 18 streams of Twitch at once. We've got a whole looking for group area to find other people. We've got a map of events so that you could find all different types of events that are going on. In fact, we're starting to bring some new LARPs on there, and they're starting to add their events. So if you actually own the LARP, please reach out to me. We'd love to work with you to help bring new players to LARPs, get people more excited about them, have them learn more, and give them more options. We are completely, we don't favor one over another. We just want people playing and having fun. Regardless, that's just what LFG Nexus is about. Just trying to help create relationships with other people. So with that being said, that's what we're doing here. So we want to help show you a little bit more about LARPing and why it's fun, and hear some amazing stories from different people. And so we hope that you guys will enjoy it. Please, we'll have a Google form, kind of fill that out. Let us know what we're doing, how things are going. This is about our 6th episode, and just trying to look for some feedback. And so let me go ahead and do this. I got to pay the bills real fast, and then we'll do a little intro, and we'll bring Debbie on. So here we go.
People everywhere are discovering how 5G can change their lives, but Apartments.com has changed millions of renters' lives by helping them get into new homes. So, we already knew all about the power of 5G. We've had it in every town and city for years. And also 6G, and 4C, and 2R, and 7L. What else would you expect from the site with the most listings anywhere? Apartments.com, the most popular place to find a place. Hello.
Okay, and here is the little intro. All right. Hi, Debbie. How are you today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. First of all, I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for volunteering some of your time and kind of helping give back a little bit to the LARPing community and sharing some of your stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I guess kind of the typical question is, how'd you get started LARPing?
Okay, so I've watched all the other videos, all the other people who came in, and I think what it starts with is which LARP I attended first and how I got invited to it. And so Solar, 1993, and I had roomed in college. My roommates were, I think you remember Lane Harris, rest in peace. And another person. I'm not going to use names here because I haven't asked anyone's permission. I don't know how. Back in the day, you didn't really out yourself or out other people as LARPing. I had friends who were teachers, and it wasn't something that it just wasn't as accepted as it is now, right? I sound so old back in the day. But so Lane was my roommate, he and another person. And they told me about Solar. They had gone, and I was interested because I had played D&D. I'd grown up with, when I was really young, like my older sister was 4 years older than me. We grew up with stories of Merlin and King Arthur and Robin Hood and, everything every kid, the 60s, 70s, right? It was a big deal. Sci-fi fantasy, big deal then. So, grew up reading like Conan and Fafford Mauser and, all the old school, like Tolkien, all of those, right? So I played D&D. My sister played D&D in high school. They let me sit with them while they played. And then I played later in college myself. And so the guys who I knew, they were called the Macon Boys because they were from Macon, Georgia. And you remember them. And so Lane said, why don't you come? And they were playing the equivalent of Drow. So I guess Dre was the Solar equivalent. Yeah. And so Lane said, why don't you come? And I said, I would, this sounds really cool. Yeah, but I don't want to come in with you guys. Like everybody I've heard tell a LARP story talks about the infamous, my friends invited me and then they abandoned me. Mm-hmm. But I went in and said, I don't want to ride on you guys. I want to come in on my own. But Lane did help me. He had to vouch for me because there was makeup involved. And I was a theater kid. And so I said, I can do the makeup. And they showed me how to do the makeup. And then I met like my best friend nowadays. I met her there. She was also another Dre, and ended up being my best friend. And she helped me as well. But I came in alone. But Solar at that time had a newbie module. They had people who were willing. And actually, I ended up with the Healers Guild. And I don't know exactly. I don't even. It was so weird. But I ended up hanging out with my friends later on. But it was good. I went in and I met people and hung out and got to know people. So it was a lot of fun. And I stayed and I played Solar. And then when my friends, at that time, I was roommates with another guy who, he and two guys actually, who ended up founding Legends. And I ended up going with them because I sewed and I did makeup and that was not supposed to happen. There we go. And I crafted and I wrote. I served on the storytelling board, the plot committee is what they called it at Solar. Actually, about the same time, I think Chris Dodson was heading it at the time, I want to say, and Sean I was on it as well, Sean Mulhall. So I was under them. I think I was with them in the same plot committee at Solar. And then when my roommates moved over to Legends, I did too. And so I played Legends for years and ended up going on the committee there. The entertainment committee is what they called it there, and ran the game for the last couple of they were tying up all the loose ends towards I think it was like the 10-year mark, if I'm not mistaken. They wanted to take it to a different in-play location. So we tied up everything in that location. And then got pregnant around 2009. And that's when kind of put it on hold. Didn't LARP after that. Okay. So it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Obviously kind of, and this is going to be a little different. Obviously the people that we've kind of done in the past, we're all males. So yep. Coming in especially all by yourself, yeah. As a female, did you have any concerns or anything like that? I'm not saying anything about the game in particular, or any specific game, but just in general.
Well, the thing is, here's what's interesting. I build my characters based on what my group needs, right? And I didn't come in with a group at this point. So like even in D&D, when we would be playing, I'm like, what do you need in your party? And I would make whatever to fill it in because that's what I like to do. I like to feel needed. No, I didn't. I knew people there on site. And I even rode with some of them. So I knew that I knew people on site. At the time, most women were considered like as Pez dispensers. Let's just say it, right? So healers. You pretty much played a healer, right? So, and I was a necromancer healer. At the time, they didn't differentiate, so you could do both. No, I never felt like it was really weird. You're 25 years old, you feel invulnerable, right? So
Mhm.
you're a 25-year-old walking through these trails of some of these state parks that, I'll be honest, there's probably like meth heads. Who knows what's out there, right? And you're just walking around at 3 a.m. by yourself. Those were different times. But no, Solar at that time was very welcoming. I'm sure they still. I don't know. I don't keep up, but very welcoming. I met some of my best friends there. I kept them as friends. It was a lot of fun. So I know later, and but we also, this was the 90s, and there were plot lines we ran. There were plot lines I ran that now I would look at and go, that's a little problematic. I probably, I'd do it differently now. Um, but you learn. You learn as you go, right? You do your best until you learn that you can do better, and then you do better.
It's amazing how time has shifted in terms of some of
Mhm.
those things, but I try to stay away from that. But it's just really interesting.
Mhm.
Um, so did you actually have like a kind of a character background when you came in that you were kind of thinking about whether you kind of made it official or not, or you're just going to kind of go with things and maybe add people in later?
Well, Solar at the time was really good at either you could give a character background and write it all up and make it whatever you wanted, and they would either approve it or not,
Mhm.
or you could just sort of build it as you went. I sketched out a background, but
Like a loose or like a rough outline?
it's very loose. Like, did I have any living? Who was? I like to start with who's your mother, who's your father, who's your family.
Sure.
Did you grow up wealthy? Did you grow up needy? Did you grow up? What are your moral? We do the D&D alignment, right? You can do the chaotic, neutral, whatever, blah blah blah. But you can do that. I mean, it's all just a framework, right? It's like you're playing 20 questions with yourself, and you're going, okay, what's my background? What's my life story? And then you're building that as you go. Some people like to build it with, I've got a quirk, right? I have a quirk. My quirk is whenever I see orcs, I run at them regardless, whether I'm going to get killed or not. And that's something you build in. And maybe one of the things you and I have talked about before is, do you build in things that are detrimental? Things that really like, I faint at the sight of blood. Things, who knows, and then your character arc is trying to get over that somehow. Um, so yeah, I did not in the beginning with the first character, Silk. I didn't. I had a very sketchy. I had no living relatives. I didn't want plot sending in anybody to see me, right? And they did anyway later, but it was a different thing. Which was hysterical. But
Tell us about it if you're okay with it.
no, it's fine. So the whole thing was that my entire family. Let's see. So Dre are underground, just like Drow. So you come up to the surface, but you mostly are very isolated, insulated. Come up to the surface, whole family's wiped out. Guy takes me in, he's human, and basically takes advantage of me, sells me out for odd jobs and other things. And I end up escaping from him. We get captured by, I don't know, goblins or something outside of town. And that's how I came into town. I got away from the goblins. And they send him in years later. Somebody pulls up my character history and says, hey, you know what? We could mess with her. And they did. And a guy who he's a really good role player. He played like a halfling, I think is what it was, sort of a hobbit type, ran the cafe, awesome role player. And he comes in as this suave, sophisticated, out of play, you recognize me as so-and-so. And I'm like, so-and-so? So-and-so? And I'm like, I wrote that thing so long ago, I couldn't even remember. He's like, the dude who you hooked up with and like traveled. Oh, that guy. I hate that guy. So I ended up like kidnapping that NPC. And at the time, my best friend at the time played a stone elf, which was these were these mind elves. They messed with your mind and pretty much gave him to her to like just totally screw with. It was not great. I think they may have had more stuff for me, but I'm like, no, I hate that guy. Like, why would I like that guy? And it was hysterical. So that was interesting. But yeah, for Solar, no, I didn't do a lot of fleshing out. Like, I'm here and I'm going to just deal with the present, right? I'm going to deal with the now. Later with other characters, like in Legends, I would do more background.
So do you think that that's, what's the reasoning behind that? Could it be, I mean, you're probably more familiar, or pretty familiar with the world, or was it just, something about, I don't know. I was just curious, as someone that's written stories.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I'm not knocking Solar at all. At the time, you had like you didn't have the internet presence, right? You had bulletin boards, and we're going old school now, kids.
Yeah.
And printed up like almost zine like little hand printed rule books, and if you had what we called a race packet, because we dealt with different races, right? And we call it that today. It just means that, like, if you want to play an elf, here's your elf packet, right? Here's everything elves are. Here's ideas to build your character on, right? And Solar didn't have that. So at the time, and it wasn't a knock on them, just it wasn't available in the forms they are now. And even when Legends began, they had stuff online. Not a lot, but there was more online.
Mm-hmm.
There was thought into races and and we were still building, though. I think even my third or fourth year playing, we were still writing. And Legends actually opened it up to players who were playing certain races to contribute, which was awesome, like crowdsourcing race packets, which was good. So the more source material you got, the better. And everybody does it now, but back then Solar didn't have that. They didn't have that outlet. And you could sit and talk, like, for sure, the people who ran the game, I remember them being very open. Part of it could have been because I was a girl. I don't know, and there were a lot of guys. But I don't know. But to me, it seemed like they were willing to tell you, this is what this race is, this is what that race is. So it was cool. That was good. But I think when you have source material available to your players, they're able to craft more of their character history, especially when they know what the boundaries are, right? Like Legends actually did the noble, you could buy in, go monster, get some points up, and then buy into different noble houses to have contacts, right? You're not going to be a princess, you're not going to be a duke, but you can buy in with contacts, which was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that definitely makes sense. It didn't have that content out there that was fleshed out for you to really kind of grab onto. I love seeing a map that kind of helps me identify a little bit more about things. That's always been a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the encounters we were on, we actually got a framed map of the town, and at the time we never really had a map. That was actually, I mean, it wasn't really worth anything. It was just like really cool prop to have.
Right.
And, I think we actually made copies of it for other people in the world that we were playing in. But it was just neat. Like sometimes you don't have to get like golden items and stuff. It's these neat little props that people love.
Yeah, that falls in line with the things we talk about. What has sentimental value, right, for you, right? You've asked some of the other storytellers, what do you have that means a lot to you? And a lot of it wasn't even for the value of the magic item. My husband will kill me for this, the flaming sword, or anything like that. But it's more the sentimental stuff, the stuff that had no in-game value, but man, that's cool, So yeah.
So, speaking of which, I'm not sure if we can talk about him or not, but obviously he was a LARPer as well. You guys were married. Right. Yeah. So, I guess LARPing was good in other ways outside of the game itself.
Oh, I think almost everyone agrees that you meet some of the most important people in your life when you LARP. One of the storytellers spoke about likening it to military service, which not at all equating it with the military, right? That's a time-honored profession. I'm grateful for the people in service, but you are working towards a goal. But you can see that in almost anything. You join a mountaineering club, you're working towards a goal, you're doing an activity, especially a physical activity, team building. I think someone mentioned that. Might have been Sean, might have been someone else that
Uh,
mentioned team building, right?
yes.
That's what it is, and that's why you build those connections. Two of my best friends are friends I met at Solar, and I'm still best friends with them. I still keep up with people on Facebook. With COVID, it's harder, right? But I love the fact that I still have ties to people on Facebook and in real life too, to people that I met way back in ages ago, and that's nice.
Absolutely. And I mean, even maybe people that you haven't seen or heard from in a long time.
Oh yeah, especially when you like get hit on Facebook, like so and so wants to be friends, or you see someone is friends with someone else, you're like, that name. The fun part is like, that name. How do I know that name? And you're calling your friend, and you're like, okay, how do I know this name? And your friend is like, in play they were so and so. I'm like, in play they were so and so. I know exactly who they are, right? So the in play name. That's important too, because it helps you make that connection. You're like, oh, I remember that guy. He's so cool, or she's so awesome. So
Exactly.
yeah, and I met my husband, LARPing as well, which is also very cool. So yeah.
Awesome. So you were kind of talking about, or prior to this, about the character that you played at Solar.
Mhm.
And you said like her background wasn't really well defined, but when you started playing the other game, Legends, like
Mhm.
what, how did you come up with a background for her?
So when Legends began, I was actually just helping my roommates. I didn't know what I wanted to play. I didn't even know if I wanted to LARP again.
Mhm.
I was working a new career, a new job. It wasn't really a career, but there was a lot of learning curve because I had changed what I was doing. So
Mhm.
I said, I'll help run the tavern. I'll help do the administration. I think the first Dragon Con we went to, I helped sew the costumes and help with makeup and all of these things. So I didn't really know if I wanted to play again, but then all of my friends were playing, and I'm like, they look like they're having fun, so I guess I want to come in. Um, so at that point, there were race packets, which was awesome. I had two friends who were really good friends of mine who were former roommates, um, and they were playing the Fey-like race, Sylvan, right? I said, I want to do that. That sounds like fun, and they needed a rogue. One of my friends, she was a healer, and she was trying to get in big with the Healers Guild Ohm at the time. They were the white, healing,
Yeah.
group, the light. And so I said, oh yeah, I'll come in. So I said, what's your background? So they'd already written their background, and so
Mhm.
I sat with the two of them. They were brother and sister in game.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, here's what we want. We want, she wanted to be really high up in the own, get power, and he wanted to just help her, but he also wanted to be like a Gandalf, wanted to be a master sorcerer, whatever. That's what they wanted to do. And I said, great. And they said, well, we need a rogue. And I'm like, I'm good. She had been a rogue in Solar, so she was able to tell me exactly what to do and teach me to pick locks and all the stuff. And she said, so what's your background? And I said, well, you want to attain power with the humans and be very powerful in the governing body, the Om. He wants to be this great wizard. I'm going to be the comic relief. So I decided that was my role. Izzy was their sister, and Izzy was going to be nothing but crazy. So I'm going to go in because I didn't know if I really wanted to stay in LARPing. So I'm like, I'm not going to build this huge character. I'm just going to come in and be the crazy. And we made up this thing where the Dark Moon family, that was our last name, the youngest of every Dark Moon family is always insane. So I was youngest, so I was insane. And I came in as a rogue and just had a lot of fun. I had so much fun as that character. It was great.
Awesome. Was there anything specific that you might want to share about that, or like any cool encounters that you really had that like maybe you
Oh,
share?
we had a ton of them. So let's see. The best one I think was one of my first events, and I was bored, so I took a piece of paper and ripped it and folded it to make a little paper man. And I decided that this was my paper scout. and I made him through my magic, which was chaos magic, which was total bullshit. There was no such, excuse my language, sorry, there was no such.
No, that's fine.
The French. So we're out there on a trail, and the town guard is this really, very rough, and some Highlanders and some like very honorable, Roman legion types. And they're all like, we're going to go and fight these things. I forget what they were. It wasn't the big bads yet. It wasn't like the Void, but it was pretty big for us. Mm-hmm. And we got down this trail. We had to get our objective. So they said, we need a scout. And I'm like, I'm right here. And I take the little paper man and I scurry down and I put him behind the little rock. And I look up and I see the things and I run back and I'm like, Scout says there's like boom, 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 and boom. And they're like, great, let's go. And we're fighting and we're fighting and we get beyond where my paper scout is and we keep fighting. And then for some reason we have to come back. We get our objective. We have to come back the trail and we're getting hammered. And the guy who is like town guard, second in command, he's very forceful. And we get back to the town and I realize I left my paper scout there. And no one knows who he is except maybe my brother in game, who's being really quiet. And I'm like, we left Scout. And I start crying and just moaning. We left Scout. Scout's back there with those horrible things. And the dude who's in the town guard thinks I'm talking about a real person. He's like, what? No, we leave no man behind. And they gear up and go back down the trail and get their asses handed to them. And I'm like running after them. And I grab Scout. And I'm like, I've got him. And I'm running with this thing in me. And my sister is like, oh my God. And the town's like, excuse me? And I'm like, I got Scout. The town guard was furious. I mean, I think like there was a lot of smoothing over that I didn't do, mind you. that my brother and sister and the other Sylvan had to do. And because I remember specifically as I'm walking away, the dude looks at my sister in play and says, we went all that way for a paper doll? And I'm walking along so happy that I have my paper doll. And stuff like that. It was just stupid stuff like that I pulled that I'm surprised nobody killed me for. I still don't know why they didn't kill me. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I had an experience like that, actually because of something that you did. You just mentioned the chaos magic thing. So for some reason, I guess, that was talked about, and the character that I was playing. So I actually played a Sylvan before that. So it wasn't actually my Sylvan character who we were friends with, but I played another character, and he was a little bit more inquisitive about stuff. And he heard about this chaos magic thing that you were talking, he didn't realize it came from you. Didn't realize it was like made up. He thought it was for real. And so I ran with it. Back in that game, we had this thing called a world system where you get, like, when you pay for an event, you also get an action out that basically happens between event times. Yes. And, you could do things like you could buy stuff, you could do research on things, you can try and do some spellcraft to make new types of spells. A really incredible system that was built out for that game. And so I heard about the chaos magic, and I had a feeling there was some other stuff going on with magic. So I actually spent my turn trying to do some research for it. And from my understanding, like, you guys heard back a little bit about it, but were never told who the PC might have been.
No. So I felt bad about that. I didn't know who it was. We said, yeah, sorry, man. So we were like humans. We called anyone who wasn't a Sylvan was a mortal. We called them mortals, right? Mortals are so greedy. We're going to make up a story about chaos magic, and we're going to put it out there because that was my thing, was chaos magic. It was I was a rogue, but I had magic. My magic was chaos magic, totally made up thing. Mm-hmm. And a lady girl at the time who was playing with us, she was gypsy, and she's like, "Oh, I'll write a beautiful story." And it was a beautiful story, and we paid in-game money for the prop. Like, we used all of our abilities in-game, paid in-game money to throw this prop out there and see if anyone bid. Apparently you did. And then they came back to us and said, look, a player found your stuff. And we're like, oh, that's awesome. And they're like, look, we cannot let them waste a ton of time and resources on this. And we're like, yeah, we feel pretty bad. So, but I didn't know it was you. That's fun. Yeah, it was good though. I mean, the prop, it looked really good. lady who made it had book binding and was really good out of game binding books and sewed it up and everything. It was beautiful.
Mhm. No, I mean it's complete. Actually, I don't remember that. So at the time, the character I was playing was actually paying other people for information, like other PCs, and maybe one of them found it,
Okay.
and I would take back like all the information and kind of decide what I wanted to do with it. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So like I was trying to kind of play like this weird thing with this character and gaining information from different aspects. Anyway,
Yep.
So which character do you think you like better, or did you like one for more for specific reasons than others?
I mean, I like them all. I played so I played Izzy for a while, and then I played a Shadow Elf because my roommate's team needed a Harry Potter mage, right? The inner circle and Legends, there were the different the inner schools was like the stereotypical Harry Potter mage, right? With all the warding and the other charms and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting a little bored. I was like, I don't know. I feel like, I want to do something else. I want to maybe play a mage. And Legends allowed you to have a secondary character. You didn't have to spend out your first character, right? You could just drop it for a little while, I think, and play another one. And I ended up playing a Shadow Elf. And I did put a lot of thought into the background for that one because the race packet was very fully fleshed out. And I wasn't coming in as anyone's brother or sister. So that was a serious character. That was a lot of fun, too, though. We had a lot of fun. The group dynamic was really good there, too. I really enjoyed, we had to do our fundraising. Do you remember the fundraising that we did? Okay.
Shadow Elf?
Oh, yeah. So the head of the group comes up. He's my roommate, and he says, we got to raise some funds. We all just started. There were very few Shadow Elves left from the first group of Shadow Elves, and we didn't have a lot of resources. We need to raise some funds. And we're like, okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there were 5 or 6 girls in the group, right? We're like, we need to raise some money. What can we do? And we're sitting and we're thinking about it while we end up at someone's house, and the guys are over here talking, and the girls are sitting, and one of the girls is like, I got a plan. How would you guys feel about this? And she lays her plan on us, and we're like, that's a good plan. So the plan was, and we didn't tell the guys, the plan was, how would you feel about loaning your face? Because I draw in real life. Loaning your face, and I had the ability in game, and to a risque group portrait that we would sell in game. And I'm like, I'm intrigued. Okay, what are we talking about here? And we're like, well, we're talking about like, we're going to get a Hustler, an adult magazine, right? And we're going to choose our poses, and you're going to draw the poses of the women, and you're going to put our heads on them. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. And you think we're going to make money off that? And then we all laughed because we knew we'd make money off that. We were like, of course we'll make money off that. We didn't tell the guys. We sent one lady's husband out who wasn't playing and swore him to secrecy. And he got a girly magazine, one of the really, really sketchy kind, too. This was not classy, no classy at all. No articles in this one. And we're like, okay, we choose this one. I choose this one. I choose this one. And I did this montage in this sort of like with pillows and everything and candles, and it's all of us, and we're in various poses, and there's nothing tasteful about it. I mean, it wasn't and it was a poster size, and so we get it done, and there's an auction where all the players can submit something to auction, right? And it's supposed to be like magic items and stuff, and we're like, this is what we want to submit. So we haven't told the guys yet. So we are all together at a group meeting at somebody's house, and we covered the poster with a sheet. And that we're like, look, we have an item we want to auction off. We want to get your opinion on whether or not you think this is going to make any money. And the looks on those guys' faces when we pulled the sheet down. And the head of the group, who was my roommate at the time, was like, we are going to make so much money off this. And we did. It was awesome. That was like one of the best, that group, the dynamic of that group and the willingness to just do crazy things, insane things was awesome. I mean, so that was very interesting.
I bet. I don't remember that auction though.
You don't remember? Oh my gosh!
It was just makes me wow.
Yep.
Terrible.
It was great. I still have a copy of it. I kept a copy of it. I don't know who has it now. I don't know who bought it. I mean, I have a copy. I made a copy of it so I could keep it for my portfolio. I don't know who has it now, but I know that we also made, one of the ladies was doing printmaking, and she made small cards that people could carry in their wallets, and several people bought those too. So
Wow.
we really, I mean, we milked the heck out of that. Now that I think about it, it's very funny.
That's
So, yep.
that's crazy. That's awesome. I don't know why I would not remember that.
Oh my God, it's great. It's great. Yeah, all of the characters had different, like I have different memories of crazy stuff with all of them. I remember Solar, so playing the drow, right? The Dre. And so Lane, well, everybody. Okay, so you have to think about the makeup at the time and the costume at the time, because you didn't have a lot of options, right? You didn't really have internet, order Amazon, get all your gear. So what you had was you had the makeup, and then you had, for hair, you could go super hardcore. You could bleach your hair because it was white hair. Or you could do the Ben Nye spray, which made your hair super stiff and your scalp itchy, and it was just nasty. Or you could buy a wig. Your wig choices were not great. So what you had was this Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie, white punk rock wig. Every single dude who played, every one of the Macon boys, except maybe two, had the same hair. We said it was a genetic condition with drow, right? That every one of them had this like punky party in the front,
Mullet.
respectable in the front, party in the back, kind of mullet looking punk rock thing. And I remember getting woken up at 3 a.m. For a module. And Lane, who was blind, he could not see at night, right? He would habitually stumble around going to his meetings with his dark, like necromantic sorceress cronies, and he'd get lost in the woods, and he'd come back dragging himself in, and he would invariably lose the wig. So these are really, really cheap wigs. And men do not care. Okay, I'm speaking generally here, and probably very sexist, but men, and they looked amazing. Well, I know for the time they were really cool, but men did not care for their wigs, right? So Lane was the worst. His wig, we said that wig could cause damage. I swear it could call Vorpal. It was so nasty. And he would take it off, and at night you'd look at it before you went to bed, and you're like, it better be in the same place in the morning or I'm burning it, right? Because you could just think about it scurrying around. It was disgusting. And at 3 a.m. we get woken up, and they're like, we got a module, and Lane's passed out, and it's like, where's his wig? And we don't have any hairspray, and he can't go without his wig. And we're walking around the woods like, Lane, where did you go? Where did you go? I think I went this way. Okay. And you would find the wig hanging. We found it hanging. Like he had gone under a low-hanging thing, like branch. It had ripped off the wig, and there it is. And we're like, you didn't leave it here. That thing wandered. But things like that, where you're just like, we got to go on this module. We got to find his wig. Okay, let's go looking for the wig. We got to go. We got to get there. And we had to meet everyone. We made the module. But that was hysterical. Like there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, those times are what make the bonds. That's the team building. Mm-hmm. Looking for the nasty, nasty wig in the morning.
At 3 a.m. in the middle of the woods.
At 3 a.m. through the woods, where there might also be like crazy, crazy people wandering around who aren't playing your game. That's kind of scary. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Lane was actually one of the first people I ever talked to, or that actually talked to me when I went to an event. Lane was quite amazing. So I'm trying to think. Sorry, I just lost track. But I guess when you what's the process you use to create a character? I mean, I know it's you're kind of filling in a blank, but you know, do you try to play something a little more neutral? Do you like to have that fun? You know, at least it seems like it, but
I like to have fun, but I do. I build the character. Usually, when I start, I build a character based on the need.
right.
So I like to insert in a group where, what's your need? Do you need a healer? I'll build a healer, and I'll build it, and I'll throw in some quirks maybe. If there's already stuff out there, source material that I can pull from, it's even better.
Right.
And for anybody with a LARP, I say, if you have your packets fleshed out and you have as much detail as possible. I mean, Legends they did makeup photo shoots, right? I thought that was really cool, where they were putting their stuff together. And again, this is, where you had the luxury of being online. You could eventually get everything online with the photos and everything. But that was awesome to be able to see visuals like the map you're talking about. Visuals are so helpful, right, to your players. If they can envision it, if they can touch it, props are wonderful. You don't have to have the best and the biggest and whatever, but a good quality prop helps a person get into character more than anything else. So when building my character, I would envision what they would wear, what their hair would look like, jewelry, ornamental stuff, what their house might look like, or what's in their pack, what's in your pack that you carry around, things like that. But building the character, it's mostly taking what's there and building on it. I don't really invent from the ground up. And I don't do that with storylines either. Like all my storylines that I ran, with Legends especially, by necessity, was they wanted the owners of the game wanted to wrap up storylines they had out there for years. And so with Legends, you had to if you had a group, you went to the entertainment committee and you said, hey, my group wants to, I want to register my group so we can have a module, because Legends promised you one module every other, I think it ended up being every other event, your group gets a module. And of course there were town encounters as well, but it was very tailored to customer service, which I enjoyed. But it was taking what was out there and left loose threads and then building on that. So for me, I've always built on what was already there. And I do that with my characters too.
Cool. So I think what they were doing was, it was a module every event, but you also had at least a vignette, which is basically means your NPC comes and talks to you, maybe preparing you for a module or that sort of thing.
A module, and then the other event would be an encounter. They called it an encounter, and the other event would be a module. So you get information in between, and you get like role playing, but you wouldn't get like a module, which would be a longer session, right? And that was to accommodate all the groups, obviously. But it was a good setup, I thought. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this: have you ever had like LARP dreams, or do you ever find yourself outside of a LARP just dreaming about stuff, or maybe kind of playing a potential conversation in your mind and see how that's going to go? Things like that.
I think everybody does. I think a lot of your storytellers have mentioned some of their very lucid LARP dreams, right? I think everyone does. I think, especially if you're trying to resolve something, to write an encounter, and you're trying to resolve something, you're thinking about it, you go to sleep, and sometimes you have these crazy dreams. Or sometimes, I have written encounters based on dreams I had, right? Which were, maybe different here and there, but in the end, the inspiration came from the dreams, right? So absolutely.
Okay, cool. And I guess, has there been times that you've gotten like emotional about stuff that goes on? Maybe not that you've written, but like as a PC.
The stuff I've written, not as much. The stuff that other people have written for me, absolutely, or for my group. There's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think right now. Even stuff that was unscripted. In Solar, one of our friends out of play, but part of the group in play, got obliterated. Basically wiped. Characters gone completely.
They literally like rip up the character sheet.
Oh yeah, where they literally rip up your character sheet. And there was player versus player stuff going on, and he got caught, and he got caught by the people running the game, who owned the game, right? So there was a lot of mixed feelings there, but that was very emotional because that character had been around forever. There was also, but I remember running something in Legends where we brought in an older character who had played in other LARPs, and we all knew him, and he was awesome, and he was like a father figure for a lot of people. We brought him in to play the king of this far off land that we had some people from. It was a new land that we had introduced. That I didn't write it, but it had been written. We introduced them, the Falcons, and the king comes in, and the thing is that the king has to die, right? Because on our side there's only one duke, and we're going to bring that land in under the duke or under that class here. Mm-hmm. And so it's very emotional, and he ends up dying, and that was super emotional. I wasn't running that either. I didn't write it. I wasn't running it, but I was watching it, and it was like really cool to see everyone get really involved in it. There's a lot of times where if you just let yourself get immersed in it, right? If you let yourself stay in play, so to speak, which is the thing, like don't go out of play, stay in play. It was a big thing back in the day. It's still a big thing now. If you immerse yourself, you're gonna feel those emotions. It's very cathartic, right? It's super cool. I mean, I gotta say, some of the best times that I've had were on site, and we're getting really deep into this, and we feel for this NPC, and we want to help them, or we hate this NPC and we're going to kill them. There was a really emotional time, actually. When you talk about group dynamics, right? And you talk about the second group I was with as Izzy the Sylvan, were very diverse. And Lane was part of it. And he was, I want to go do outlawed illegal things, but I'm crazy and I want to do them, and then I'm crazy Izzy, and I'm like, I just want to help my friends, and then there's one of the ladies in it was like, I want to walk the light side, but I want to help the town, and I want to be involved with the town guard, and I also want to be very political. She's very diplomatic, very good at it. And then my other best friend was like, well, she's my sister, so I want to go with her. And so we're all like, yeah, we'll come together. So we never talked about Lane and another girl and me kind of going and doing shady stuff, right? And I remember I didn't know what the shady stuff was going to be. Lane just goes, hey, I got to go to a meeting. You got to come with me. I need a rogue. And I'm like, okay. So I go, and next thing you know, we're killing people. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, oh, don't worry, just come along. And I'm like, wait, now I'm illegal now. What am I supposed to tell the others? He's like, don't tell them. It'll only hurt them. And in my character's mind, it's like, it will only hurt them. Okay, I won't tell them. So we have like the group where we all go do our own thing out here with the weird stuff. And then we all come together and we keep it, we don't let people know. We've got people in the group who cast illegal magic. We don't let these people know. We never do it in front of them, So we brought in a new guy, and he was awesome. He was fun. And he was in, and he threw like illegal magics. And we didn't get a chance yet to tell him, listen, there's a divide, right? We don't talk about this. We don't talk about this in front of this person. We all go down to the lake. We have a picnic. We're going to do some team building. And monsters show up, and the guy freaks. And it's just us. It's just a group. And he throws like illegal spells. So we kill him, and the girl turns around and says, wait, did you throw blah, blah? Like, she's like, her mind is blown. And me, the gypsy, the Sylvan, Lane, and the other gypsy are like, shh. And the girl and the other guy who's really straight and narrow, but he's not freaking out because he's friends with this new guy. And then the sister in play are like, what do you mean you throw blah, blah? And the dude is like, well, Nightshade does it too, which is Lane's character. And she's like, what? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I pulled the sister aside, and she's the girl who is like path to power, and with the light. And she's yelling at Nightshades, whatever. Who cares what the mortals, he calls them chipmunks. Who cares what the chipmunks think? And I'm like, and I'm pulling the other girl to the side. I'm like, listen, and there's this end-game mechanic. And the in-game mechanic is you kill someone and they resurrect. Huge chance they don't remember 30 minutes from before you killed them, right? So count back 30 minutes. I'm like, listen, man, if we kill her, she won't remember. and she can still, pursue, because she was due to get truthed at some point, where they give you this potion or they do this spell and you tell the truth about who has illegal magics. And I'm like, wouldn't we just kill her? And the girl is appalled. She's like, we can't kill my sister. And I'm like, yeah, we can. I mean, it's easy. I can do it right now. She's like, no, I mean, we're not going to kill her. I'm like, well, why not? You're doing her a favor. Look at her. She's horrified. And she's not going to be able to do that truth. And she's not going to be able to achieve her dreams. And I'm like, I could kill my sister. And of course, the girl I'm with, who has always sort of had a contentious, thing with my sister, was like, I could kill your sister, but this is my sister we're talking about. We're not killing her. And by the time we finish arguing, it's too late.
It's been 30 minutes.
We missed the 30-minute mark. And I'm like, well, it's too late now. And she's like, we were never going to kill her. And I'm like, okay. And then we talked to her about it later. She's like, oh, I would have been fine with you killing me. And her sister's like, that would have been good to know before. And so it turns out, though, it worked out for the best, because she ends up learning they introduced the new magics, and the new magics weren't illegal, and it was the type of magic she was interested in anyway. But it was that whole group dynamic where we had been very good about out of play and in play, not mentioning any of the rogues guild stuff that Lane had done, right?
Right.
And but just stuff like that is hysterical too, where you're looking at like your group and what are some of the moments that you remember. And that's definitely one of those emotional moments where I'm like, well, do I just kill both of you? Because at one point I'm looking at both the girls and I'm going, maybe I just kill both of you, and we never talk about this again. And I'm like, I can't do that, so it was good though. I mean, we survived. I thought for sure we weren't, but because you remember Lane he was awesome at like stirring the pot.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, are things a little too normal? Let's stir the pot. And that is exactly what he would do. And you're just like, God, I just wanted one event where things went right.
So just for the people that aren't familiar with the game, there's a really strong lawful presence in the game. And in fact, at the time, my Baron, he was very clear. He was a little bit shady too, but he said that and I'll always remember this quote. He said, "The law is only as strong as the people that uphold it." And in that game, they very much wanted to have this set of illegal magic, which anyone could get and use. But there was like a caution that you had to have that it would impact your character.
Right.
And actually, it wasn't even that bad for the characters themselves. It was more for their friends that wanted to rise up in these in the good groups. It was, and so I understand. If you'd want to kill her, it actually probably would have benefited her, like what you're saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we laugh about it nowadays. We look back at all the times where we butted heads on what we wanted to do as a group, and then what we could do as our own selves, our different, what our goals were. And sometimes it's good though. Sometimes it's good when you're coming into a group to talk out of play or even in play, keep it in play about what goals you want and whether or not you mesh well, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes you just throw it in and go, hey, let's just go have fun.
Exactly. I mean, and you have to do that because, if you want to have fun and you really kind of want to pursue something, it's best to be honest and say like, hey, this is kind of really where I want to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might not match everything. It's kind of like when you like in session 0 in D&D, kind of like just telling people, this is where I'm at. This is kind of what I'm looking for. Anyway, so, let me ask you this. How long did you spend like writing like encounters and stuff like that? I know you were kind of finishing off plot lines for people, at least in Legends. But was there one that was like particularly fun or one that you're like, this one's gonna be a little tougher than another?
I mean, they were all cool. So what we did was we would pull up plot lines and I would go out of play. We met with every group and said, okay, we have a couple of different things. We kind of want to go in this direction. How do you feel about that? Or the group would say, hey, we had this old plot line. Nothing ever got done. Can we wrap that up? And then I would sit with, like, I sat with Chris Dodson. I sat with all the owners. And I said, okay, when you wrote this, what were you thinking? And they'd be like, we were thinking this. And I'm like, okay, can I take it in this direction? So I tried to stay, sometimes I couldn't, but I tried to stay true to like the source material and take it in a way that made sense. And we would write, one of the cool things was we would write stories in between. I mean, Solar did this too. Solar had the Calanthian newspaper that, I remember reading the newspaper with the articles. So it's like you have this extra bit of material in between times. So everyone would write different stories in between times about things going on in the world. And you would mention like different groups within these stories because you wanted to tie up loose ends or you wanted to share information. So that was cool. We wrote the very last event we had in the old location. We put together this night long run to this place, close this thing, run to this place. Like there were 6 big bads, and you run to this place, you close this thing. You run to this place, you close this thing. So you're fighting the big bad, you close the thing. You go to this place, you close the thing. Get the widget, close the thing. So what you're doing is sealing it up. I think it was like the prime, which was the magical, the whole magical force, the whole entity. It was the magic of the place was, the realm we were in, the prime, became embodied in like one of the nobility, one of the NPCs who came down and basically gave people fabulous powers for the night, right? And yeah, just short term but fabulous. And I didn't write any of the stats. That's my weakness, is I don't stat well. I don't, and I encounter wise, I relied heavily on other people to help me stat, to help me do write out the monsters. My thing was, I got this idea. I got this idea. What do you think? And they'd be like, yeah, let's do that, but let's do this. And let's put these guys in because they'll make more sense. I didn't do anything alone. My stuff was all collaboration with people who were good at what they did. So for me, it was just that last one though was murder. Like we show up and we're tweaking it at the last minute. We're like, let's make this change, okay? And it was insane. But I enjoyed it. I hope people enjoyed it. I like that sense of closure. I think we gave a lot of people a sense of closure to go on for the next chapter. So that was cool.
And so they kind of got to play with some superpowers for the night. Was that kind of
fabulous superpower, like an ability, right? I think is what he did. But it was really cool. I mean, pick a guy at random, give him a fabulous ability for the night, go crazy. Because there were some overpowered, like baddies that they had to fight anyway. You almost had to do that.
Okay, so this was part of the encounter. It was just we wanted to do that. We wanted to go over the top and just let people
you wanted to. Why not? You were going to burn the town down afterwards anyway. We moved up north in the world, right? If I remember, that something was like that, yeah, or somewhere. Yeah. So I was like, why not?
Exactly.
Do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned that you're an artist as well. Mm-hmm. Is there things that that you've done with like your skills, like kind of also like. I know I've seen like a couple of books or at least a couple, sketches that you've done, Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Oh yeah, it's great. So when you're LARPing, it makes you be very creative, right? Whether you sew, and I, I've sewn some stuff as well, whether you paint, whatever your craft is. Some ladies used to knit and it was awesome, right? I know we talked about one of the storytellers, either Sean or Chris talked about the knitting magic.
Those are the Assassins Guild. They pretended to be knitters, but they would go kill people.
So awesome. So we've done stories. We've done bedtime stories. We've done songs. We wrote songs like pub songs. Also, so I wrote one of the books I wrote was a bedtime story that the Sylvan, our fake characters, were kind of on the outs with the Shadow Elves. At the time, so we want to give a peace offering. I said, I'll give you a bedtime story. And I wrote Which Lich is Which is a Dr. Seuss kind of rhyming. And I ended up illustrating it and writing it for my son and, just making a couple of books that I gave to some friends. But we also we did a ton of different stuff like rhyming things. And whenever it was someone's birthday, we'd make up a story about them. And Izzy was the one who had the skill, and she would draw it and write it, and she would sit and read it to people. And I mean, we did a lot of that. We did, there was a lot of artwork that came out of it too. And just, you get your inspiration. So you draw, you paint, whatever. But most of it was just for in-game fun. Like just, Lane actually told a lot of stories I wish I'd written down. We threw a mixer. So the Sylvan is there were a lot of different Sylvan, and a lot of these Lady Sylvan in different groups were like politically motivated, right? They wanted political power. I think it was the Lady Sylvan thing, although it skipped me. But like all of them were like, we need to show the humans that we're more than just, silly and fey. Let's have a mixer so we can share our cultures. So we had what we called a mixer, and we invited everyone. And I don't know why they let Lane tell like a story of the Sylvan culture, but he gets up and he starts this very, very awful story about chipmunks. And yep, which is which, and chipmunks, and how foolish they are, and how they rule over everyone, but they are so foolish and blah, blah, blah. And one of the guys in one of the Sylvan ladies groups is a big fighter. He's human. And he's like, when he says chipmunk, does he mean human? And she's like, oh, no, no, no. And Lane Nightshade is like, no, chipmunks. And then he starts talking about how chipmunks do. And he's naming all these things in history that the humans have done in this history. But they're chipmunks. And how foolish they are and horrible. And finally, they drug him off the stage. And I mean, we left that mixer with more ill will. Like, I think it took an event or two it's just horrible. We were awful to those. I apologize right now to any of the people I played with who were trying desperately to make, headway, break the glass ceiling. And here, Lane and I are like, yeah, no, stay down here. It's better down here. You don't need to do that. So yeah, that was awful.
Actually, I think Chris Dotson talked a little bit about Lane. He might not have mentioned him by name, but he was talking about some of the Fae games and how Lane would talk about the story of the Fae and kind of how they got kicked out of the Fae area and were no longer mortal. Although they said they're mortal, but we didn't know. But and so again, I played a Sylvan too. It was a lot of fun, so I definitely understand. But with that being said, kind of, is there any advice that you'd give to a new LARPer?
Yes, go do it. If you are at all interested, but you are on the fence. If you are like, I don't know, maybe I'll look foolish, just go do it. And I agree with a lot of the storytellers. Go and monster, and you can build up whatever points they give you, right? For monstering, and you can apply those to your character, come in at a little higher level. You understand the game better. And you'll have fun. You'll meet people, even if you're alone, you'll meet people there. People are, by and large, at LARPs, they're very welcoming, and they're very friendly, and they're very nice. And I think you just take the first step to go show up and do it.
Awesome. So again, kind of twist that question a little bit more. Is there anything that you'd recommend to a new female LARPer? Just because we haven't had someone to ask that could really answer that problem.
Yeah. Okay. So like, I don't know. Like, I haven't LARPed in forever, but I think definitely ask around, ask the women who LARP there. If you're going to go monster, make friends with the women who are monstering with you. There's a lot more women now than there were, back in the Stone Age of LARPing. And just make friends with them, ask them, how do you feel about this? And women, I mean, we know what to ask each other. Like, we come up and we say, how do you feel? Is it good atmosphere? Good. How are the guys? And the women will say they're awesome, or they'll say like, okay, well, they're going to try to get you to play a healer. Don't let them if you don't want to, because that was a big thing when I was coming up, was like, all the girls are healers, and we just heal me already. And it's like, no, I don't want to be a healer. I want to be something else. But I think you get an idea. You can, if you are wondering how it's going to be LARPing as like you're a woman and you're the only woman, right? You're only coming in by yourself, rather. You're the only person. Definitely reach out. Everybody's got the website. Ask questions like, hey, I'm a woman. I'm coming in by myself. Do you have any women on your entertainment committee or your plot committee who can talk to me about, like, you know, what's going on? Go ahead and ask and have a conversation with them about what the atmosphere is like. But I don't know that there's any. I never played any LARP that was awful to me as a woman, right? Like, well, sure, there were guys that would hit on you. They would hit on, you know, but that didn't. It wasn't. It was never to. I never had to deal with the creepiness or anything. And maybe I don't know why. Maybe it's because I had friends. I had like 6 guys I knew from Macon,
Sure.
who, you know, that helped, I think. But yeah, I think for sure if you reach out online and you say, hey, I'm going to show up. Are there any other women, you know, that I can talk to?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I never really thought about it because I haven't looked at it from that perspective. But yeah, so in today's day and age, you know, you could definitely reach out, and I'm sure that there's, you know, women that you can speak with. So I guess, you know, another question is, you know, you said you haven't played in a while. Do you have any inkling or urge, like, do you ever just really, really miss it? Or just sometimes just be like, you know what, I'm glad that's done. You know, it was fun while it lasted, you know.
No. I mean, I do miss it. I've missed it. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the creativity. I miss a lot of things sort of came together when I quit. I got pregnant, had a kid, changed careers again. And just, especially my kid is now 12 at some point, you know, he likes fantasy. He's more into computer gaming.
Sure.
But he likes dressing up. Like, we made a Five Nights at Freddy's Bonnie costume, Wither Bonnie, which is pretty for Halloween one year. We made one of the Team Fortress 2, the medic costumes one year. So, you know, we've done some of the costuming, cosplay stuff. Before COVID, I was going to take him down to see the parade at Dragon Con, you know, because I really get a kick out of that. Now that we're starting to see a little bit less, I really would like to take him to like one of the local anime, you know, and let him see the cosplay there.
Sure.
He doesn't really care about acting. He took drama in 6th grade this year, and he wanted to build props. That's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to act. And I said, that's fine. Prop building is fun. So I don't know if he'd ever get into LARPing, but if he ever did, I'd certainly go with him. I just, the time is so precious now. And that's when we talk about, like, you've talked to other people about the future of LARPing and what is it going to be?
Can I ask you that? Yeah.
And I think, I can't remember who said, are people willing, like, I sacrificed an entire weekend, but not just a weekend. Like, we were very immersed in LARPing, especially in Solar, but also in Legends. We would get together and make props. We would get together and sew costuming. There was in between actions we could talk about and what our plans were. It was very all consuming, right? But it was fun. It wasn't like all consuming. Oh my God, I got to sit and talk about plans for the LARP. It was, oh wow, we're going to sit and talk about plans for the LARP. So when you look at that and you go, I just don't have that type of time now to give.
Yeah.
I think, you know, depending on your demographic, it's really true that when you're younger and maybe you're not as interested in, you know, you don't have the kid, you're not married even, you have a group of friends and you want to go do stuff, whether it's camping or hiking or mountaineering or biking or whatever, you end up like LARPing. You can take that time, but if you're looking at a demographic that you're going to serve as a LARP that's like me, it's going to be the escape room, right? It's going to be maybe overnight. I don't know. Maybe, you know, there's definitely the places, the bed and breakfast that host the murder mystery where it's immersive, but it's only overnight. There's places like that. You and I talked about the one in Las Vegas, the grocery store, the alien grocery store. It's like an experience where you go in and you can actually buy these weird grocery items, but it's interactive theater slash, it's a module. It's what it is, but it goes on beyond the grocery store, right? Like you gather all this information, you go online, you share it with other people, and you piece out the puzzle. Like I Heart Bees, you know.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
we actually, it's funny, the kids in my neighborhood play a game of assassin with Nerf guns. They're seniors. Every senior year, the local high school has this Nerf battle, and they get on teams and they play what we used to play. We played assassin, werewolf, whatever. And they do that in the neighborhood. I see them running around sometimes trying to catch each other as they're getting in their car going to school. Um, and that's a form of LARPing, you know. So for me, I think like depending, you know, where LARPing goes from here, we all want to escape more and more, right? You look at the world right now and you're like, I could do with an escape, and I don't want to, you know, I'd like to Sims, you know, you look at all the different online stuff with the gaming.
Definitely.
And you know, you look at your avatar, you know, meta and the whole avatar experience, and you present as who you want, not who you know, like who you want people to see you as. And that's a form of live action role play. I mean,
Definitely.
that's you getting into character right there, right? So I think you're always going to have that place for the going out to the woods with each other and LARPing the way that you and I are used to in the old days, right?
Yep.
Or the weekend.
Yep.
But I think you also have and there's this new exciting opportunity that you can do other things, that you can do it another way. You know, I played Vampire for a little bit, and that was basically just overnight
Mhm.
session of playing less physically.
Right. That's the parlor.
Play.
It's more like the parlor LARP where it's like rock, paper, scissors.
Right. And but the role play is astounding. Like the acting, the role playing, and the immersion.
Mm-hmm.
You're even more able to do that in that setting than you are sometimes at a LARP, because you're with the LARP, the only problem that I think LARPs have had traditionally in the woods and everything else is the ability to, you know, no one ever owns the land, right? We talked about this. One of the storytellers talked about this, where the constraint is you need to own the land so you can really build up these sets. You need these sets. It needs to be, it doesn't need to be. Some of the best modules I've been on that people have run have been very light with the decoration and the prop, but it was just someone who's a really good storyteller who sucks you in, right?
Yep.
You don't need it, but it certainly helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So actually, just to kind of add on top of that with the potential future of LARPs, and I'm not sure if I've talked about this in any of the other ones, but you know that Disney has created this big hotel and this whole experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think, first of all, it's ridiculously expensive. It's 2 nights, and it starts at basically $5,000 for 2 people.
Yes.
And it goes up from there. And of course, it's Star Wars themed, but you know, we'll kind of see how that goes. I've heard some interesting stuff about it because obviously I'm a big Disney fan, so I'm interested from that as well as being, you know, a LARPer.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard that they've stopped kind of putting out little videos about it because a lot of people were not impressed with the stuff that they were seeing. But I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
so,
I think you have to be very careful with what you're presenting out there, right? Like, I don't know if people weren't impressed for the price point, right?
Well, that's definitely an issue as well. But yeah,
right. That's part of it. Is it's a lot of money for, and for some people it's not. For some people it's like that's cheap for the experience, right? And I think it depends on your level of fandom. Like, and that's a LARP too, right? One of the things that LARPs have, the traditional weekend LARPs have sold themselves on is, look, we offer for this amount of money for the price of 2 people going to the movies and getting popcorn and candy and soda. You could come here for a whole weekend and be entertained, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's
you know, so yeah, so you know, typically the LARPs that we see here in Atlanta are right around that $60 to kind of $70. And I mean, I remember when we first started playing, it was like $25, you know, back in the mid 90s. And
I remember, yeah.
And
$25, $30. And I remember when Legends started and they were looking at the price point. They were, because the owners approached it as like a business. How can we try to break even? How can we try to and still give an experience? And a lot of focus on customer experience when they did that, and setting your price point that people could afford.
Definitely. And so, and so now, Disney's literally like 100xing that. And, we'll see, what they're going to come up with and in essence, it's the same thing. It's roughly 2 nights, or maybe it's, yeah. And so we'll see. But I'm hoping for them. I mean, I hope it'll be a cool experience. But kind of talking about the real world for a second, is there skills that you've learned from LARPing that you've been able to apply to either business or just, your life in general? Gotten from LARPing?
Oh yeah. I mean, it takes guts to get out there and makeup and costuming and potentially make a fool of yourself in front of people. You're taking a risk anytime you go and LARP, right? Even if you just go monster. The human condition is, I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want to be the fool. I want to be respected, right? And you go out there and you're an orc. Go out there and kill people and run around and scream and you can embrace it and be, or you can just be very timid about it. But in the end, if you have fun, you're going to embrace it. You're going to be more comfortable in your own skin, and you're going to make yourself do stuff that maybe you weren't going to do before. It gives you more courage to try new things. It gets you more comfortable being in front of people. When you start running the modules too, when you start even if you're just monstering, helping to run a module, you're learning about logistics and handling people. Your people skills are definitely going to improve LARPing, right? Because in play, your survival depends on being able to read people and know what they're going to do, especially in the LARPs that have more PvP. Improvisation is wonderful. The ability to sit and improv on just about anything. Just like there's a lot of skills that you pick up. Public presentation, the team building, social skills, reading people, interacting with people, working towards goals with people, working against people. Being more competitive, right? So there's a lot that you pick up just by going and playing.
Have you ever thought about adding it to a resume? I know that I think it was Ryan Brown that we were speaking to, and he was saying that he actually, I'm not sure if he's actually did it, but he's talked about at least putting LARPing on his resume as like team building, project management, speaking in front of larger crowds.
Oh, you could totally do that. You could. So when you go for your PMP, your project management professional certificate, you have to build out 7 years of experience doing project management. And he's right. You can totally apply that. There's it's not just team building either. It's project management, overseeing. When you oversee a storyline, you're overseeing the writing and staging of an entertainment event, start to finish, on time, on budget, right? I mean, you work with budgets in LARPs. You work with time stamps. You work with time boxes, right? Sure. It's all project management.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's and finding other people to be the monsters. I mean,
oh yeah.
I mean, it's
recruitment. And you got recruitment. There's all kinds. You can jazz it up however you want, but it does translate into real world skills too. Right. I mean, I'm a project manager in real life, and I can tell you everything I did in a LARP is project management.
There you go. It sounds like the title of your next book.
Project management through LARPing. I don't know. I'm not ready to write that. No.
I don't blame you. But kind of speaking of which, oh my God, I just forgot what I was going to say. What do you think are some other ways that we could possibly bring more people into the LARPing industry or like area or arena?
Well, obviously, if you're running a LARP now, right? If you want to start a LARP, or if you're taking over running a LARP, I think mostly you have to use the tools at your disposal. I think it helps to go and read up on business management, right? So what you're looking at is like the marketing skills. Who's your demographic? Who are you trying to attract? target those audiences a lot. Right now, coming out of COVID, you're kind of limited. So it's more of the online stuff, right? You got to catch them with the online presence. I think personally, anything you can do online I've never seen a Zoom social meeting, right? But maybe you have those. I don't know anymore what people have done for COVID, right? But before COVID, in the before times, we used to do like socials and stuff. Like you could rent out the back of a pub or a bar and have people come in costume. We've done that before. You get together at someone's house or get together at a state park for a one day, just anywhere at all that you can push it out and make it fun for people. You got to make it attractive, interesting, fun. Even when people show up to Monster, you've got to make it fun for them. You need monsters, right? So you need volunteers. You have to reward the volunteers with something too to help you. I am not a marketing person. I don't know how to sell your LARP, but I do know that if people have that good feeling, that good emotion, they're going to want more of it, right? And community is a big thing. Like people feel more isolated than ever now. If you can build your community, if you can include people and just encourage everyone to be kind and welcoming, and the people skills are super important now, right? Because we're all on a short fuse. We're tired of being at home. We're scared of what the world holds. So any way that you can be the best people person you can be. But I think you have to like people. I mean, I really think that you have to like people and like being around people and like listening to them tell their story. I don't think you can fake that, right? So you really need to embrace liking people and bringing them into your community and building your community.
Absolutely. So we're getting close to about an hour and 20 minutes or so. So I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I do want to ask you like 2 or 3 like last questions. One, and actually this is just kind of learning from other people before me. One of the other people, he like basically had a secret or something that he kind of wanted to, I guess, let out for. Is there any secrets about, the character or plot that like you just kind of want to let out of the bag? And if you don't, that's fine.
I don't even know. I was the most transparent person and characters you ever could meet. Like I had no secrets.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of any, but there's nothing. Like my stuff was all out there. Too much out there sometimes, to be honest, if you listen to some people. Wow. No, you know what? I'm trying to think because I know that for some of the storytellers, it's like, no, that's not my story to tell. For some of them, it's like, no, I'm going to take that to my grave. No, like I got nothing because none of my characters were super secretive though. Like none of them were that, devious, malicious. Like Silk was the closest, but even it was more about making sure nobody caught her doing anything illegal, right? So, nope, I got nothing.
Okay, that's cool. And again, some people still, or some people that I talk to, they're still playing or had active characters, so they definitely didn't want to say anything. I know that I think it's been a little while. I'm not sure exactly when the last time we played was, but I think it's been some time.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes those people might be willing to be like, sure, I can say something or not, but that's fine. I just thought I would ask. So is there anything else that you just kind of wanted to share about LARPing that you think people should know?
No,
or your experiences with LARPing, rather.
At some of the best times of my life. I'm gonna say, like, I regret nothing. It was awesome, and I'd do it 10 times more. Like, if I could go back and do it, it would be like amp it up, turn it to 11, right? But
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I can't recommend it enough. If you are at all interested and you think you're interested but you don't know, just try it. Just pick one. There's so many good ones. I subscribe to all the Facebook boards, right? The same ones you're on. And all the different LARPs come in and they've got all these different things. I can't even remember all the names and I apologize because they're all awesome. Just go to Facebook and start looking for LARPs in the area. But just they all offer different experiences. They're all cool to me. Like if I was back then, I'd be trying every single one of them for sure. They sound amazing, and it's not just even the Tolkien-esque. You've got the Wild West, you've got the steampunk ones, you've got there's Werewolf Vampire. You've got like all the sci-fi ones. Like there's so many different genres.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to stick with I want to play an elf.
Right, the high fantasy or even like low to mid fantasy, but I think there's like some zombie LARPs and dystopian stuff.
Yeah. The horror LARPs, there's Lovecraftian ones. There's all of these that just sound amazing. Like I'm like, good for them.
Awesome, cool. And so, is there anything else that you have going on that you want to promote or tell people about?
LFG Nexus, obviously, because I think it's cool that you're doing this and getting it off the ground and enjoying it. No, I mean, I don't affiliate with any anymore, and my day job is super boring from a LARP standpoint, right? I'm a technical project manager, so it's a lot of software. It's farming. Support your local farmers, I guess, would be the other one. I'm in the agriculture business now, so support your local farmers. Be kind to each other, and hang in there. Those would be the things I would promote here.
Awesome.
Be good to yourself. That sort of thing. Yep. I don't have any business ventures to promote right now. So. Okay.
Well, we like to give people the opportunity because they're helping us. We want to reciprocate. So definitely appreciate that. It's been amazing to talk to you and kind of hear some stories. Some of the stuff I didn't know about, some of the stuff I did, but just again glad that we were able to kind of get it out there and give again especially a female perspective. On that note, in 2 weeks, here you go. I'll put stuff for you. Just because he's associated with LFG Nexus as well.
Ryan. Yeah, congratulations, Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So actually, just to kind of let people know, next week, currently we're off. I don't have anyone scheduled. The week after that, we have a woman named Amanda Leaf Harvey. She actually does a lot of LARPing up in Boston. And she's I've met her a few times. She's an amazing LARPer. Like she plays in Euro or played a lot in Europe there, and she came down and played some Euro here, and she had like the cleanest verbals and fastest verbals I've ever seen. Like she would put there's one particular making boy to kind of shame that was very clear in one of his. And I'm actually gonna see if he'd be interested in coming on. But so we have her coming in basically 2 weeks, and then right now we have another gentleman, Charles Bailey. I don't know if you remember him. So currently, I just scheduled him today for I think it's March 1st. I think that's a Tuesday. I can double check real fast. Yep. So again, just everybody, Debbie, thank you for your time. If you don't mind holding on for just a second. Everybody, thanks for listening, being a part of this, checking it out. Check out LFG Nexus if you get a chance. If not, definitely try to, find some other LARPs, try and get involved if you can. It's so much fun. That's what we're here to do is to, show off, the different LARPs, go try them all. We are, I've played, some, but, definitely for these purposes, we want you to try everything and, you'll find something that's going to work for you. But, so yeah, we'll see you guys in about 2 weeks. If something does come up, I might try to schedule it for next week. But, if not, we look forward to talking to you guys again. And again, Debbie, thank you so much for your time. And you guys have a great night. Take care.
Thanks.